If you don't want to end up with a massive headache instead of the keys to your new toy, stay tuned. Because I'm going to explain what you should never do when buying a used car. To start off on the right foot, let's go over the typical situation. We find the ideal car in an ad, the price seems fair, and at first glance, everything looks great. However, when we rush into the purchase, it's easy to overlook fundamental details, such as the actual condition of the engine, the transmission, the vehicle's history, and countless factors that can complicate the experience of owning a car. And watch out, it's not about distrusting every seller, but about being cautious, since you never know if the previous owner properly took care of that car or if the dealership carried out the necessary inspection. Here we are going to take these points and break down, one by one, the essential aspects to make your purchase much safer. Mistake 1. Not conducting a prior inspection. Have you heard the saying, better safe than sorry? Well, it applies perfectly to buying a used car. The first big mistake that many people make is not having a prior inspection done by a trusted mechanic or a specialized workshop. Many people rely solely on the test drive, or worse, on the seller's word, and assume that the car is in perfect condition because that's what they were told. Serious mistake. Remember that, unfortunately, not all sellers are honest, and even if some are, many times they themselves do not know the potential defects of that vehicle in depth. The pre-inspection is not just about checking if the engine is clean, if there are strange noises, or if the brakes work. You need to conduct a more thorough review, checking details like the condition of the hoses, oil and fluid levels, tire condition, electrical systems, suspensions, and, in general, all key components. If you hire a specialist, they will be able to detect anomalies that are not visible to the naked eye. Additionally, a professional inspection report can help you negotiate a better price. Because if it's discovered that the car needs, say, a shock absorber replacement or that the air conditioning compressor is failing, that represents an additional cost that someone will have to cover. Now, you might be thinking, but how do I find a trustworthy mechanic? Sometimes you don't have to look too hard. If you have a family member or friend who knows about cars, it's worth inviting them to see the vehicle before buying it. If not, many workshops offer paid inspection services and provide you with a detailed report of their findings. Investing a little money in this review can save you enormous amounts in the future. Imagine discovering that the transmission is in bad condition only after signing the contract. That would definitely be a headache and a hit to your wallet. On the other hand, keep in mind that not all problems are an absolute barrier to purchase. Once you have the diagnosis, you can decide if you're willing to take on certain repairs, as long as the price justifies it, or if you prefer to keep looking for other options. The important thing is to make the decision with as much information as possible, and the mechanical inspection is the most reliable starting point. So, to avoid costly surprises, never buy a used car without first having a thorough mechanical inspection. Everything might be perfect, and in that case, you'll have the peace of mind knowing that your investment is backed by a professional certifying its good condition. And if you find defects, it's always better to know before putting the money on the table. This is the first big step towards a safe purchase. And believe me, it will save you many tears and bills in the future. Let's move on to the next mistake you should avoid at all costs. Mistake 2. Relying solely on a history report. When someone tells you, this car has a clean history, they're probably talking about reports like Carfax, AutoCheck, or any other vehicle history service. These reports are very useful because they inform you if the car has had accidents, if it was written off at any point, if there were floods or any other significant event. However, relying solely on the history report and not seeking information through other means can be a serious mistake. What? First, because not all accidents or repairs are reported to insurance companies. There are damages that can be repaired without generating any official record. Additionally, some reports may take time to update or even omit key information due to data collection failures. That is, a clean history does not guarantee 100% that the car is truly in perfect condition or that it hasn't had events that don't appear in the document. So, what to do? Besides checking the history, take advantage of the internet. An interesting practice is to Google the VIN number, vehicle identification number, or the car's serial number. With that, sometimes previous listings, photos, damaged car auctions, or any trace the vehicle has left on the web appear. The car had a crash, and someone repaired it on their own before reselling it. Maybe the official history doesn't show it, but there might be photos or previous posts of that same car on forums or sites for selling damaged cars. With a simple online search, you might discover something the seller didn't mention to you. Another very valuable source of information is the maintenance records, if the owner keeps them. Service invoices from workshops, oil changes, brake inspections, tire replacements, and everything related to vehicle care. These documents can help you know if the previous owner cared about keeping it in good condition or if they only addressed problems when it was already too late. Also remember that the history is just one step in a complete analysis process. An immaculate report is useless if, upon physically inspecting the car, we find signs of poorly done repairs or hidden rust on parts of the chassis. That's why relying solely on a report is a mistake. It can lead us to neglect other more detailed and necessary inspections. Mistake 3. Not properly test driving the vehicle. Let's be clear, taking a spin around the block is not enough to know if a used car is in good condition. Many people, out of embarrassment or haste, settle for a drive of a couple of minutes and think that's enough. Huge mistake. A used car should be tested as if it were going to be with us for years. What does this mean? Test it in different situations, on bumpy roads, on the highway, at different speeds, and even on inclines if possible. That way, we can identify strange noises, steering problems, suspension or transmission failures, and see how the vehicle behaves under different driving conditions. When you're behind the wheel, pay attention to the engine's response when you press the accelerator, and whether the car feels stable or not in turns and braking. Also check the feel of the brake pedal. If you feel vibrations or if the car pulls to one side, when braking, it may indicate alignment issues, disc problems, or suspension issues. Also, check the steering wheel. Does it shake too much at a certain speed? Does the car pull to the left or right? All those details are warning signs. Another recommendation is to turn the air conditioning and all electrical devices on and off to see if they work properly. Test the windows, the locks, the interior lights, the dashboard screen, and everything related to the electronic system. Remember that a malfunction in this area can be costly or difficult to repair, and it's better to detect it before buying the vehicle. Now, if the car you're interested in is in another city or state, and you have no way to go test it, personally, don't rely solely on a video sent by the seller. Find a trusted third party in the area, a friend, a family member, or even an external inspection service, who can test the vehicle for you and give you an unbiased opinion. It's about your money and your peace of mind, so the effort is worth it. A good test drive not only confirms the mechanical condition of the car, but it also helps us know if we like the driving experience of that model. Sometimes we see a spectacular car on the outside, with an attractive price, but when we drive it, we discover that it's not comfortable, that the visibility is poor, or that the seat doesn't fit our posture well. These details greatly influence the daily experience, and it's crucial to consider them before making the final decision. Error 4. Forgetting to compare market prices. Have you heard the phrase, knowledge is power? In the world of used cars, researching the real market price is essential to avoid overpaying. One of the most common mistakes is getting excited about a specific car, believing that the price the seller offers you is a bargain and not bothering to compare. Then you find out that the same model with less mileage is being sold cheaper elsewhere. And it's already too late. To avoid this, the first step is to go to different online car sales portals and filter by similar brand, model, year, and mileage. That way, you can see what the price range is. Keep in mind that prices vary, depending on the region, the condition of the car, whether it has extras or not, and even the brand's reputation in your country. If the seller asks for an amount far above what you find in the market, you have reasons to negotiate, or simply reject the offer if they are not willing to adjust it. On the other hand, if you find a price that's too low, it could be a warning sign. Sometimes, bargain prices hide serious mechanical problems or complicated legal issues, like fines or outstanding debts. No seller gives away their money, so be wary when something seems too good to be true. Another factor to consider is the so-called hidden costs. Often, the price of the car does not include transfer fees, taxes, inspection costs, or pending repairs. Always ask the seller or dealership what additional expenses you will have to cover. Furthermore, some dealerships try to add charges called reconditioning fees or preparation surcharges, in addition to the car's price. don't fall for that trap. If they put a car up for sale, it's assumed that it has already gone through the necessary repairs and costs to be in sellable condition. Comparing market prices not only helps you find the fairest deal, but also gives you tools for negotiation. When you talk to the seller, you can say, "I've seen similar cars at X price on trusted sites." This way, it will be more difficult for them to inflate the price without justification. And remember that not all online platforms are 100% reliable, so it's ideal to rely on multiple sources to get a clearer picture. Lastly, don't forget that the price isn't everything. Sometimes it's worth paying a little more for a car that's in excellent condition and has an impeccable maintenance history, rather than saving a few dollars and later investing much more in repairs. The important thing is that you know in advance what is the reasonable range in which the vehicle moves, so that the excitement of the purchase doesn't lead you to invest your money poorly. Now, let's talk about another mistake that is frequently made and can cost us a lot in future headaches. Mistake 5. Paying unjustified extra charges. Imagine this scene. You've already checked the car, done your test drive, the price seems reasonable, and you're ready to close the deal. But at the moment of truth, the seller or dealership presents you with a long list of extra charges. Whether it's for documentation, supposed deep cleaning, or the infamous reconditioning fee. Suddenly, the final price of the car has increased by several hundred or even thousands of dollars. Does that sound familiar? This is a very common trick in some places to increase their profits at the expense of unsuspecting buyers. The mistake here is accepting all those charges without questioning them. In most cases, the cost of reconditioning a car, meaning cleaning it, checking certain parts, and replacing commonly worn parts, should already be included in the sale price. It's neither logical nor fair for them to sell you the car and also force you to pay for the tune-up as if it were an extra. If the seller tells you the price is X and then adds $500 in administrative fees and another $300 for aesthetic details, question everything. Ask for clear explanations, and if they have no justification, demand that they remove those charges. Some charges that are valid include taxes and fees required by local law or title transfer costs, as those are indeed part of the bureaucratic process. However, even in those cases, it is recommended to verify how much is usually paid and if it truly aligns with what is legally established, or if the seller is inflating figures to increase their profit margin. On the other hand, if the dealership offers additional services like extended warranties or maintenance plans, they should be carefully evaluated. Sometimes, an extended warranty can be a good investment, especially if the car is older or if the manufacturer no longer covers the vehicle. But you need to read the fine print. What does it cover, exactly? How much does it cost? Does it have deductibles or limitations? If they try to bundle it all at once without explaining the real benefits, you might be paying for something you don't even need. The important thing is not to get carried away by emotion and to carefully review every line of the contract. Ask for a clear breakdown of the costs. If you don't understand something, ask. If something doesn't convince you, negotiate or threaten to walk away. In such a competitive market, no seller wants to lose a serious customer just because of made-up charges. So, if they see that you are well-informed and not easily fooled, they are more likely to give in on those additional costs. Error 6. Not verifying the documentation and legality. Sometimes the excitement of buying a car, especially if we get it at a price we consider good, makes us overlook it. Something that can turn into a real headache is the thorough review of the documentation and the legitimacy of the sale. What does this include? Ownership papers, registration, emissions certificates, and any other document that proves the vehicle is up to date and, above all, that the seller is truly the owner or an authorized dealer. Imagine being handed a car with expired plates, or with accumulated fines, or worse yet, that it turns out to be a vehicle reported as stolen. Even if it's not your fault, the legal mess you could get into is enormous, not to mention that you could lose the money you paid and end up without the car. That's why, before agreeing on any form of payment, demand to see the titles, the current registration, and check if the VIN matches on all the documents and on the car itself. Also, inform yourself about the specific laws of your country or region. In some places, the buyer is the one who assumes the transfer, and in other places it is divided with the seller. The same goes for the emissions inspection or vehicle verification. Some states require it to be current at the time of the sale. If this is not fulfilled, you might be forced to cover fines or additional inspections. Another key point is to sign the sales contract properly, detailing the price, the agreed conditions, and the delivery date. If you buy it at a dealership, thoroughly review the contract. If it's a private sale, draft a simple agreement, but include all essential information. Preferably, do it with witnesses or before the local authority responsible for vehicle procedures. It's important to remember that some informal sellers promise to deliver documents later or as soon as they receive them, and that's a red flag. The advisable thing is not to conclude the purchase until you have everything in order. Otherwise, you might encounter unpleasant surprises when trying to register the vehicle in your name and discover that it wasn't as simple as it seemed. Error 7. Getting carried away by haste or emotion. Who hasn't gotten excited upon seeing the car of their dreams at a tempting price? It's normal for your heart to race and want to rush to buy it before someone else beats you to it. However, acting in haste and under emotion is one of the most dangerous mistakes when purchasing a used vehicle. When we let our feelings take over, we tend to overlook important details and don't negotiate with a clear head. The seller, if they are clever, will notice your enthusiasm and might use it to pressure you into closing the deal quickly. There's another interested person. They could buy it today if you don't make up your mind. These kinds of phrases are common, and although they can sometimes be true, other times they are just tactics, so that you don't have time to properly check the condition and documentation of the car. Don't get caught up in that rush. A car is not a chocolate bar or a t-shirt, it's a major investment that requires thought and thorough checks. Emotion can also lead you to ignore small defects. You tell yourself, well, that's not so bad. I'll fix it later. But adding defect after defect. In the end, you end up with a list of costly repairs that will cause you financial stress. Or you might overlook a serious defect in the transmission, brakes, or engine because you've already imagined how great you'd look driving it. In that sense, it's always best to have a plan B. Keep in mind other models or similar cars that might also interest you, so you don't feel like it's the end of the world if you don't get that particular car. Another aspect related to emotion is the brand. Sometimes we become infatuated with a specific brand, without considering that the spare parts market is expensive or that the reliability of that specific model isn't the best. Be rational. Research reliability rates, spare parts prices, and maintenance costs of the brand. What you want before making the decision. You might love the aesthetics and prestige of a car, but if every visit to the shop is going to be a financial drain, there might be other more sensible options. Lastly, rush is also the enemy of mechanical inspection and test drives. If we are in a hurry, we might skip essential steps, like the ones we already mentioned, test driving in various conditions, checking with a mechanic, verifying documentation, etc. Remember that nothing is more expensive than buying in a rush and then discovering a problem that ruins your experience or makes you spend more money. If the seller doesn't want to give you the necessary time to properly review everything, it's best to walk away.